Something I thought we should do is Brian and I should riff on things that we are looking at for our individual portfolios as we go into this changing real estate landscape. Right, we've talked about commercial, we've talked single family, but I'd be curious, what is Brian looking at? And I will, of course, share what I'm looking at. We're going to do this as a game of ping pong. We'll go back and forth a couple of times. Brian, you're the guest, and what's the first thing you're looking at over the next year or two?
So my stretch goal, right? By the end of 2024, I want to acquire my first hotel. Okay.
Ooh.
So that's kind of my stretch goal. And then, my daily focus, if you will, is just still, hammering through properties in the Detroit market. I'm not as so I bought 120 units in the last 24 months, right? And so we still got about another 40 of those ish that we're finishing up renovation and can stabilize. So I'm not as aggressively looking to purchase as I am aggressively looking to where my market is going in lieu of what's happening in the commercial space, right? And my goal still is to buy commercial multifamily through the pain, and even more so as the pain ensues. And so I'm looking at, how 6, 7 months ago, there was really nothing out there. There were no good deals out there in my market as far as commercial multifamily. But now they're popping up, but they're not great yet. And I know it's coming. So I bought good deals last year. I can buy some great ones coming up. And so I'm really just looking at, how much inventory is starting to hit the market, how creative our sellers get, right?
Yes.
How many sellers are actually promoting owner finance, right? How many like that? Those are the types of keys that I'm focusing on because it's giving me a real good post on where we're headed in my particular marketplace.
Yeah. So I'm doing three different things. We'll talk about this again as a game of ping pong. The first one I'm looking at is to repeat something I highlighted in my book, One Rental at a Time. And that is where I take single family homes and magically via 1031 exchange turn them into multifamily. I do think there will be over the next year, 12 to 24 months. We already know that inventory is low for first time homebuyer homes. They're not building them. They can't build them. I own several. So one of the things that I look forward to doing is as the commercial small multis, 5s to 40s, that's kind of where I'll play, show signs of stress. And I think that shows up in Q4, Q1, throughout the year after, and probably the year after. I will, without question, take some of my single family homes in 1031 into apartments. And I'll take all the equity out of here, move it into there, and no money out of pocket, and our units will explode higher. So I expect to probably do that at least 4 to 8 different times,
Okay.
a house into multifamily. So it will happen. I can see the signs. We just got to get buyers and banks to understand that they can't have yesterday's prices. But yeah, that's kind of the first meaningful thing is to do some 1031 exchanges.
I just laugh because when you said you got to get them to understand that they can't take yesterday's prices. Like, yeah, we need to all get out front and educate them that they won't be able to get yesterday's prices. Like that day is over.
Oh, absolutely. And again, I've been here before. I've seen this movie. I bought an 18 unit building that was listed for 1.8, then 1.44. Ultimately, I got it for 700 grand. So I've seen this movie. It takes longer than you think logically would take, but ultimately it will happen. So I am confident it's coming, just a little slower than most people think.
For sure. And I think everyone, first of all, I love your strategy, by the way, Mike. Very pragmatic as usual. I think people need to be sensitive as you're underwriting these multifamily deals that cap rates are not going to be what you think they are. Right.
Yeah.
Like we need to come in conservative on our underwriting. Anything on top of that to be gravy, but don't let your overzealousness of a cap rate afford you the opportunity to go out and buy a bad deal. Like we need to, as cap rates inflate, we need to make sure that we're passing that pain over to the seller, that we're not absorbing that because of them.
No, no. Yeah. And again, having done this movie before, we went from 8 to 80 units and took advantage like that 18, right? It starts at 1.8, comes all the way down to 700 grand. That's quite a haircut. It takes a while to come back from that, right? Everybody's been conditioned, Brian, for a V-shaped recovery. It ain't coming, bud. It's just not happening. So
No,
you better put the financing in place. You better be able to take the slog for years. It will be amazing. That unit now is worth 3 or 4 million bucks, but
for sure.
it's a decade or 12 years ago. So
For
it'll
sure.
happen. It's just slow. So
For
what's
sure.
next? What are you looking at next?
So yeah, I kind of I'm in that same, I won't say so much 5 to 50, but I'm in that 20 to 50
Okay.
range for sure. I just I really have found favor in that 20 unit is kind of like a good sweet spot. You
Okay.
know, it operates really well. The there's enough diversity there, right, with unit count,
Yep.
to where if you got, a few problem tenants, it doesn't really impact you as much. On the smaller units, you get three bad tenants and you
You're
50% you
done.
close, right? So,
Yeah.
and again, it's everything that Mike and I say, right? It's never either or. It's always yes and, right? It's just a matter
Yep.
of appetite. These are things that I figured out from buying at various levels. I think that 20 to 50 range just gives you a lot more parity in the unit mix,
I like it.
and the unit count. So yeah, that's what I'm targeting. And quite honestly, there were three different deals that I could have bought that I would have been paying prices similar to probably 7 or 8 months ago. But I refuse to do that because I know where we're headed. And so I'm
Yeah.
just let them sit and stall them out and watch the magic happen because it's coming. And if you can be that disciplined and knowing that you don't have to get a deal today, you can get a great deal tomorrow. But focus on watching it on a daily. Um, I think you'll win, and you'll win
Yeah.
big in the next 12, 24.
Yeah. I got to tell you, I think you're onto something. Again, that building was listed at 1.8. Then it went to 1.44. I liked it at 1.44, but I wanted it for 1.2 to 1.1.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, just waiting it out, and the building obviously deteriorated further from there. We picked it up at 700. Just be patient. Watch it. Don't
For
don't
sure.
there will be plenty of dumb money that rush in and try to buy it at 1.1 or 1.2. I'll just get the next one because there's plenty of pain coming.
Yeah. And one
So,
thing I wanted to point out, Mike, if I could, I caught a segment with, I think it was Velocity Mortgage.
mhm. Yep.
I just wanted to because that was a phenomenal segment, by the way, you guys did. But I wanted to echo that for those, new operators, that's looking to buy these big units and well over $1 million. If you can find, lenders who can get you great deals under that $1 million threshold, like
Yeah.
it's gonna be a lot of that opportunity. Those are all your mom and pop operators, right? And they're getting crushed more than anybody. Um,
Yep.
in volume, I'll say they're getting crushed. There'll be more of those opportunities than there will be the larger opportunities for more the institutional buyers and such. And so if you can, align yourself with a lender that can fund that buy box, like I would strongly recommend that you go out and start looking at those opportunities for sure.
Yeah, and what Brian's referring to is Velocity Mortgage is my go-to for that sub $1 million. Because if you're buying multifamily over 1 million, like the loan is over 1 million, Fannie and Freddie stand ready to at least consider it. They won't play in loans under $1 million. So some people feel stuck, and that's why you go to folks like Velocity and the like. So the other thing I'm looking at doing
Mm-hmm.
is there's a good chance, Brian, I will 1031 out of a house to a house. What do I mean by that? I will probably take one or two 70-year-old homes that I own free and clear and 1031 into brand new home or new construction. I
Mm,
just want to just get a few. And the reason for that is, on all honesty, those new construction homes will be the ones that my daughter gets when I'm dead and gone.
I love it.
Right. So I want to take a couple that are really old, whatever, make them new, brand new, and just set them aside, pay them off over the next 30 years. And then when I'm gone, she gets relatively new inventory. That's something I've thought about that would make it easier on her.
You touched on something that is not talked about enough. I'm glad you brought that up. First of all, thank you for being a great dad, number one. Secondly, I don't I think when people start thinking about generational wealth and what do we want to leave our family and whatnot, obviously we do the best we can, we leave them what we can. But if you get to a point where Mike is now, where you can start looking at your assets and saying, these are kind of the ugly ducklings of the bunch. I wouldn't want my family necessarily to inherit those. This is a phenomenal power play to get some shinier, and I hate to say that because I know you get crucified for saying shiny on this channel, but essentially some shinier assets
Yeah.
that you know will be less problematic for your family to inherit in your absence. So just kudos to you, Mike. That's strong, man.
Yeah. Thank you for that. You got one last one that you might be thinking about over the next couple of years?
Uh,
Tell us about the hotel.
so this is funny. The hotel is only because I just always had an appetite to own a hotel. I really love, so I'm a guy who travels. I don't particularly care for Airbnb because when I'm traveling, I like to be waited on hand and foot, and a
Yeah.
hotel gives me that ability. And it's just one that is it's in reach. I think it'd be nice to check that off the list, right? And it's just one of the life goals that I had. And
Okay.
right now, I'm just in a season in life where it seems like it'd be great for me to go in and tackle that. Now that I've been able to pare down kind of some of the businesses that I give most of my attention to. And so by quarter three, quarter four this year, I'm gonna start doing the education, right? Remember, desire, education, practitioner, expert. So I'm gonna start doing the education piece quarter three, quarter four this year. And I'm gonna start diligently looking at deals as I did in commercial multifamily. And then by sometime next year, I'm gonna buy a hotel, you know. And so I plan on buying one of the big franchises initially,
Sure.
learn under their guys, and then one day opening up a boutique as well. But just another cash flow model and
Yeah.
one that again, it satisfies my appetite, and one day I'll be doing mergers and acquisitions. That's also on the agenda for some years to come. So I mean the good news is this. We all got ability,
Yeah.
right? And it's just dream a little bit and then go pursue those things. Like put a plan together, take action behind it, and go do it. Like why not?
Yeah. Yeah. So the last thing I'll be doing is if people watch my channel, they know about a year, maybe 18 months ago now, I did a disastrous attempt at adding an ADU to one of my properties.
Okay.
Um, it was, it happened to be in one little postage size stamp of historical neighborhood. I didn't know. Anyways, I wasted time, wasted money. Since then, the city has come out with 5 approved plans, a streamlined process. I now have a guy down in Southern California, shout out Eddie, who's just chewing on my ear about the possibilities. I have a building in Fresno called The Hub where I want to get an agent focused on this so we can help others. So I'm going to do an ADU. I'm
Beautiful.
going to look at my portfolio, have somebody go to the county and go, hey, here's a list of 13 properties. Which one's the easiest, right? Which one's an automatic yes? And we're going to do one of those more as an example for others because I think there's a lot of money in ADUs because again, it's tough. There's no inventory. If there is inventory, you have to add value. Maybe the add value is a structure, rental, corner lots. I mean, there's so many possibilities out there. I just want to continue to lead by example. So we're going to
Yeah.
be doing that, I think.
I love that, man. One of my students, she's in LA. I forget the exact city in LA County, but she did one a couple of years ago and she got spanked pretty hard in the process. She learned a lot. Finally, they did get it to the finish line. It was all during COVID. So it was a lot of complications. It took her about 16 months to finish that whole project. She still made like 350 grand when she flipped it, but she
it hurt for a while.
it hurt for a little while. It did. It was painful, but she raves about it now. Now that she has the
Yeah.
blueprint, so I think that's amazing what you're doing to at least go out, establish the blueprint, and say if you want to do it, this is how you do it.
Yeah, I'm going to take some of the bruises or cuts. I'm lucky enough to be a musician. Well, it wouldn't stop me where it might stop others. So yeah, just continue to lead by example. So again, lots of opportunity. Yes, transactions are down. Yes, commercial lending is down. Brian and I just all I see is opportunity. That's all I see going forward.
For sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
yeah.
man.
So Brian, where can people find you?
Brian Adamson Real Estate on YouTube, and then Brian Adamson Official on Instagram.
Awesome, buddy. I appreciate you. We'll talk next week.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Mike.
You got it.